When we let other people dictate our choices, confine us to boxes, or let fear of judgment or disappointment push us to the edge, we are screwed. We can do a lot of things, but we do not need to do them all at once. Just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we have to. Welcome to the Dangerous Women podcast, where the intersection of fierceness and femininity fuels empowerment. Our goal is to provide women with insights to unleash their power. Grounded in the 7 principles of self-confidence, we guide women to embrace their duality, delicate as a flower, yet powerful as a bomb. I'm your host, Colleen Conlon, inviting you to join me as we explore topics on health and wellness, empowering you to embody the essence of your dangerous woman. I hated the Barbie movie. I loved the cast. I loved the idea of a Barbie movie. But when I left the theater, I felt disappointed. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. So you know what I did? I watched it again and I took notes. So this is my recap. The movie opens and we see this little girl playing with the baby doll. And then we're introduced to Barbie. We're introduced to the idea of women and possibilities, and we hear, quote, "Nobody wants to be a mother forever." And that's a commentary on how women are only meant to be breeders and homemakers. Then we enter Barbie land, where everything is perfect. The feminist vision of the utopia that is actually a hellscape for what women actually want. And then we go into this beat you off feminist view of what men are like, when all of the Kens are fighting with each other. And then immediately we are taken into this party scene where Barbie struggles with mental health and the existential fear that perhaps perfect isn't perfect. The real world, once we enter it, it's full of self-consciousness and judgment for women in the real world, yet empowerment and camaraderie for men, realizing the beauty in the full array of emotions. And then we go to the Barbie Mattel headquarters, and Mattel tries to put her back in the box to get her back to Barbie land. But this whole back in the box is really an example of how women need to fit into the male vision of what a woman is supposed to be. When we meet Sasha, who is America Ferrera's character's daughter, she tells Barbie, "You represent everything wrong with our culture," quote unquote, sexualized capitalism and consumerism. When I saw that and then watched Margot Robbie walk away crying, I wanted to cry with her as well. And then we cut to Ken. The real world, it doesn't allow men to be men anymore. So they have to retreat into a fantasy land, to go back to a time when men ruled the world. Meanwhile, women are patted on the head and told to be boring moms with boring jobs, with daughters who hate them. Men hate women hate women, everyone hates women, and mothers have lost themselves attempting to live up to an impossible example for their daughters. This is all being said as Ken returns to Barbie land to change the culture to a frat house. Barbie returns to realize men have ruined the world she built, a false equivalency to women ruining the real world that men built by men. Then we see this commercial about depressed Barbie, sweatpants, doom scrolling, binging bad TV. This represents the pendulum swinging too far from Barbie land perfection. Then we see America Ferrera's speech of towing the line of the difficulty of being a woman is conflicting because a lot of these rules are rules made by women between women. The patriarchy exists, but to an extent, women make it harder to be a woman. What would life be like if you could get that toned look? You could have physical superhuman strength by training with just 2 kettlebells at home. What would happen if you were on a program that strengthens self-awareness and courage so that you can develop a deeper connection and trust to self? What about this? What if you could be in a community with other women where you are encouraged to be assertive and resilient to build mental and physical strength? If you're waiting to hear what the offer is, this is it. Swing to Snatch, a 13-week kettlebell intensive, is my signature course that empowers women to get started with kettlebells. Work with me live in a virtual container guaranteed to grant you kettlebell queen status. To learn more, visit www.colleenconlon.com. The take on men is that everyone is far right-leaning, mansplaining, bigots whose egos are so easily manipulated that it minimizes the actual strength of the patriarchy. Now, instead of women raising each other up, they're just taking men down. Meanwhile, we have this one character, we have Alan, who is the unapologetic attempt to showcase the helpless loner amidst the literal cockfighting of men and the women's universal hate, fear, mistrust of men. We're getting to the middle of the movie, and women go around men's backs, manipulating them into voting on the Constitution. Female toxicity, hello. Barbie then apologizes to Ken, saying she took him for granted. This scene, that line, it is the one single legitimate moment, but it's quickly ruined because Ken says he thought Barbie's dream house would be something that they could share. It could be our dream house. It could be Barbie and Ken's dream house. But Barbie says no, because she needs to be her own woman. Toxic individuality. Hello. And then the ordinary Barbie line doesn't land at all. The other line, Barbie doesn't have an ending, it also doesn't land. Because nothing in the story was ever about the journey of womanhood. It focuses so much on the destination that it could never truly be about a journey. Ken goes on a journey, but the mark again, it's missed. They're attempting to play with the duality of extremes, and they're trying to point at both as bad things, but they offer no solutions other than life is hard. Thanks. Therefore, Barbie is what you make it. It's what you take from it. Probably just like the toy. It is possibility, it is opportunity. Some people have turned that into fat shaming and an impossible standard to live up to, but despite it never being intended to have had that effect. Because the movie does little to guide the audience, it leaves the audience to revel in an echo chamber of their minds. It offers no opportunities for critical thinking or creates compelling challenges or choices. It only allows people to stay exactly where they are in regards to what Barbie represents. This is showcased by Barbie wanting to be human, smiling about going to the gynecologist as if that's a gift that all women should celebrate. The mother wanting to be ordinary Barbie so she can feel good about herself for having cellulite and depression. Will Ferrell saying it's a stupid idea, but he'll make money, so who cares? Ken, quote unquote, finding himself, though it's just a pat on the head of little boys to be enough for them, which is a lie constantly reinforced by society. The president of Barbie Land says she wants things to be different, but reinforces the same problems in the real world, but reversed. At no point are solutions offered or legitimate points made about any of the very clear social issues they bring up. Therefore, it's a seeming shout into the void. But in the end, the void answers back, revealing Barbie for what it really was, an echo chamber to complain in without actually saying anything. There was a lot going on in this movie. And I don't know what the goal was, but as a woman, I felt disappointed twice. In the movie, they mentioned that Barbie was supposed to symbolize possibility. And that's a piece that stuck with me for months as I've reflected on the film. I believe Barbie does symbolize possibility. I also believe we need to make choices for ourselves to do what will give us the most joy instead of trying to appease other people by living up to everyone else's expectations instead of our own. When we let other people dictate our choices, confine us to boxes, or let fear of judgment or disappointment push us to the edge, we are screwed. We can do a lot of things, but we do not need to do them all at once. Just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we have to. Is there anything that you're currently doing because you think you're supposed to? What would happen if you stopped? Is it possible that if you put your foot down, there could be a better outcome for you, big picture? If so, what's one small action you can do today to make it happen? Thank you for listening to the Dangerous Women podcast. If you had any groundbreaking takeaways from today's episode, please tag us on social at the Dangerous Women podcast. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe below.